up, sharpshooters? Today is Tune Up Tuesday. And as promised, I said I'm going to give you something every Tuesday. Now, today's subject might be a little heavy for some people, so I do want you to think about it before you listen. You might want to have someone with you. If you're a younger person, you might even want to get a parent. And it could even be a trigger for some adults. I'm going to share my story today, but along the way, I'm going to intertwine pieces of other people's stories because we're all connected. And like I said, it could be a trigger, and I do want to point that out. I want to give you a question to think about. I don't know if you ever played the game, Would You Rather? So I'm going to give you this question, and you think about it as we go along the story. Would you rather get $10,000 for a funeral or have your loved one back? Think about that. So from kindergarten to 7th grade, I had been an honor roll student. And around age 12, some things in our lives changed. So when I say our, I'm saying me and my sister. But at 12 years old, my mom found out she had cancer. Not long after that, she found out she was pregnant with my brother. And then she lost her job. So, of course, what comes along with losing a job? Stability, money, of course. So then the way that we used to eat, the way that we used to dress, the way that we used to look, all of that changed. But along with that, I realized that I started getting depressed. Now, at the time, I didn't call it depression, didn't know what it was. But I knew that I was down, and I remained down kind of no matter what. I was a happy-go-lucky child. People that know me know that. Laughed a lot, smiled a lot. And I even still do, but I was kind of losing some of that. So my mom lost her job. I was always the person who helped her. I'm the oldest of 7. Now, my mom only has me, my sister, and my brother, but I have 4 more siblings with my father, which is also a part of my story. So in school, I started withdrawing. Mind you, I'm already shy, so I'm withdrawing more than usual. My grades started slipping. I was missing school a lot. And again, as a child, I'm not really putting all this together. But as a person who's now worked in education, I wonder why no teacher said anything to me or, asked any questions or whatever. And I know a lot of people will say, well, what about your mother? What about your father? Well, that's a part of the story. Yes, my mother and my father could or should have noticed or did some things as well. So this is not a blame thing, okay? Is what I want everybody to know. Blame is ugly, but accountability is necessary. So I'm just saying that we all connect to each other, and at some point, somebody maybe should have picked up on that. So anyway, we were not eating as much. At some point, my mom puts us with our grandmother, and my other cousins lived with my grandmother because their mother didn't have them. So now my grandmother is raising, about 6 grandkids or so. Back to my mom. At the time that she got sick with cancer, she started using the pills more and more and became addicted to them. And then eventually addicted to drugs. So now, of course, that totally changed the game. I remember at 12 or 13, my mother sent me to somebody's house. She gave me the address. She told me the name. She said, give them this money, bring that back. No questions asked. Why? Because back then we didn't do that. Your parent told you to do it, you do it. So I did that. But after so long, I'm wondering, because I'm a curious child, what am I getting? 2, I started realizing that when I would come back home, my mom would act a little different after a while. Now, again, I knew she used pills because I used to go pick them up from people or whatever. Yeah. But this was the first time I realized I was actually purchasing crack. And, that's a shock, to know that your mother is on drugs. Your mother, who is beautiful, intelligent, she was working, she was independent. My father has always been in our lives, but at the same time, technically we were being raised by a single mother. We've never lived with them, and at some point along the line, my father was with other people. I'm his oldest child, so I witnessed some of these things. So you can imagine that affects the child, even if they don't know it at the time. And I will say, I didn't. Still respected my father, loved my father. And don't get me wrong, there was a point where I was like, okay, this is wrong, but that's what happened. So by high school, age 16, is when I got to the point where I felt like giving up. I strongly considered suicide. And then what I realized is that I really did not want to die, but I just wanted the pain to end, and I had no clue how to make it stop. I was like, I have no control over my situation. I can't make my mother stop using drugs. I can't make our father participate more or stop being with someone else, whatever the case. It was nothing I could do in my mind. So I went into a closet physically. I literally went into the closet and I said a prayer because I had gotten to the point where I said, okay, if God really exists, then he's going to have to show me who he is or I'm done. I prayed. And mind you, I didn't grow up with anybody making me go to church, even though I joined the church at 15, took my sister, my cousins, and whatnot, but still, it wasn't like some solid foundation. We were in church every Sunday or whatever. In fact, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist church, so that's Saturdays. But anyway, went to the closet, prayed, and I was determined that I would have an answer before I got out of that closet. After about an hour of praying, talking to God, listening, I hear, get your education. So in my mind, I'm going, how does that have anything to do with crack, poverty, pills, not being in school, failing classes? Like, please explain that to me. I didn't understand. So I continued to pray. And at this time, I'm really kind of becoming defiant. Mind you, it's not my general nature. But even towards God, I was so angry. I was like, please, give me something better than that. Please, can you help us? I want consistent food in the house. There were certain things I was looking for from my father. I didn't want my mother on drugs. I'm like, can she return to the pre-drug mom so that, she could be more involved and things like that? Honestly, in high school, I barely remember anybody asking me how my grades were. Straight up. And I know that's kind of crazy because even when I thought about it, I was like, dang, who was looking at my report cards? And I'm not going to say that my mother never did at all, but for the most part, I'm failing and whatnot, and it just was what it was. So back to the prayer. I hear the voice again, get your education. By this time, I'm full blown pissed off. And I'm like, okay. So you are God, though. You're God, and all you got for me is get my education. So you're not going to solve all these. Okay, so I done gave you these. Okay, all right. So I began to pray again. I hear it a third time, and I straight up stopped praying. And I said, you know what? I'll do that. And if it does not work, I'm done. How disrespectful is that? How disrespectful is it to talk to God like that? But that's how I felt. I was hurting. And so I go to school. I went to every teacher and said, my mom is sick. Of course, I'm not going to say she on drugs. I said, but she keeps me home a lot. But if I turn in my work, will you allow me to turn it in for credit? Because we had something called Policy 16, 16 absences, automatic fails. And there were some teachers who were very strict about that. I mean, it was a rule, so it is what it is. But every single teacher told me, yes, you can do it. So I was like, okay, so all I need to focus on is my education. I went home with a new attitude. Came in the door. Mom, what do you need me to do? I don't care if she wanted me to run to the store with a bottle. Yeah, I had to take bottles, me and my sister. That's probably another story, but a 10-cent bottle. If you got a bottle, that's money. Take it, get me some candy. Yeah, crazy stuff. We had to gather up bottles, take those. Sometimes she got things on credit. I don't know how she did that, and I'm not talking about no credit card. I'm talking about go down there, ask George and Rita. Now, these are the store owners. That ain't the name of the store. Go to George and Rita's and get me. And she has a long list of stuff. I'm like, okay, go down there, get that. Whatever she wanted, I did it. And it was like, are we done? Checked on my brother, my sister, started that homework. Did those chores, whatever. Didn't care about a boyfriend, none of that. Focused. Within about a year, what I realized was I was not depressed anymore. I wasn't having those same feelings. In addition to that, when I was little, I used to win trophies, certificates, or whatever in everything. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not bragging at all. Because at the time, I really didn't pay it that much attention. But I never got second place. All of a sudden, I'm in high school. They have a contest. I should have brought it. Didn't prepare good enough, but that's another time. I'll still show it to you. But they have a contest for typing. I won first place. They have a contest for math. I won first place. All the spelling bees, I won first place, except one. That's another story. And then they have an essay contest, which I wasn't going to participate in. Not enough students participated, so they made it mandatory. I participated. Not only did I win first place, I won a scholarship for a summer program at Lawrence Technological University. Yeah. So I won a scholarship for that. Had no intention on doing that, but I just realized, like, wow, I am smart, and what God said was right. And that's why to this day, no matter what I'm going through, I believe there is a God. And that's just one story. I have many. And this story is not about trying to get anybody to change their mind about their religion or anything. I'm telling you my story. So anyway, when I graduate, which I graduated late because I was so far behind, but I worked my butt off just to get to 1 year behind. That's how far behind I was. Anyway, I go in the military. My sister keeps telling me our mom is, well, she didn't say sick. She said something's wrong. And I'm like, what's going on? And she keeps telling me. And so eventually I said, let me talk to her. I talked to her mother. She was downplaying it, whatever. I come home on a visit with the guy I was dating at the time. And I said, let me look at her in her eyes. And she showed me a lump across here. So I said, really? Like, Mom, you're a person who had cancer before. You have a lump and you're not doing anything about it? That's when I made my decision I was going to get out. So I come on home when my time ended. That was 2 terms I served. And I was enjoying it, but I was being pulled to come home. I come home, and without all the details, within 8 months, my mom was dead. So I made the decision after asking my brother to go ahead and stay home and take care of him. Which also, my sister at the time, she had dropped out of school, and she was pregnant when our mother passed. So it was like, you know what, I'm going to stay here and help them. I started working at the post office, and I was there for almost 2 years. And because of the time they kept me away from my family, I eventually decided to go somewhere else, which ended up being a school. Now, I only went to the school because it was a job, and it was Monday through Friday. I was tired of all those extra hours and all of that. I cared more about being with my family. Mind you, we lost our mother. My brother is 11, at the time. And then I had my daughter. So I was like, no, I'm not going to be away from them like that. So I go to the school. Lo and behold, I fall in love with students. And I said, wow, like, I never would have thought. And let me tell you what's crazy. Before my mom died, she's on the hospital bed, and I asked her, what would you like to see before you die? She said, and I'm just going to refer to what she said about me. She said, I would like to see you become a teacher and a writer. And it's funny to me because that was not in my vision at the time. That's what she said. And I said, this is crazy that this is where I end up. And that was not what I saw. Now, I always saw justice seeker. So I was thinking lawyer, which that's not necessarily even the right road. But in my young mind, that's what I thought. But anyway, so I started working with the students. And I have tons of stories I'm going to share with you every week. Class of 06, I have 4 students come up to me and they ask me to be their sponsor. And I'm going, I have no clue how to be a sponsor. And why are y'all picking me anyway? But they did. Whatever their reasons were, they did. And so I did. I stepped up to that plate. And one particular young lady who graduated that year, who I saw a lot of potential in, and many others, but I'm speaking about her for this reason. I've just told you about some of my losses. This young lady went to college, and I knew she would. I'm telling you, I told her, you are actually good at what you do. She could dance and act her butt off. She has YouTube videos out, all of that. She goes there, and fast forward, one day I see her younger sister, and she says, Miss Sharp, this guy keeps bothering Asia at school. And she's like, I told her, she should do something, like she should tell somebody or whatever. And I'm thinking like, wait, what? Like, is it that serious? And the little sister was a little more feisty. So it was like, look, if that was me, that's how she was reacting to it or whatever. Come to find out later, there was a young man, as the sister stated, that was not only, I guess, bothering her, but he was putting things online, not just about her, but just in general, that were very out there. And to the point that there were people, now this is what I hear, there were people who reported it to our police in Michigan. Like, this guy something's off. I feel like he's going to do something. Sure enough, one day I get the news that Asia is in school. And this young man comes into the school. He goes into her room, because I think they had a class together. He takes her out of there. I think he had a shotgun, something like that. I don't think it was just a regular gun, but he had that, and he took her in another room. And they said the police didn't take long to get there. But at some point, he killed her, and then he killed himself. And I chose this one to share with you because Losses come in a lot of forms. Losses come in a lot of forms. Death, miscarriages, stillborns, which is still death, pets, careers, safety after trauma, LGBTQ. And when I say that, I'm saying some people, they lose their identity. Some people find their identity, but some people lose people because of the identity. Loss of good health, loss of relationships, marriages, friendships, loss of homes, loss of your physical looks, body, your hair, loss of jobs, retirement, people going to prison and jail, so security, all kinds of things. There are many kinds of losses. So, and you know what? I just want to give a shout out to family of Angie Thomas. I actually was out of state at the time that I heard about Angie's death. That was the other sponsor for the class of 2006. So that was a big loss for us as well. And both of her kids went to that school. So I just want to say that. So anyway, you know, like I said, this might be heavy for some people, but notice that a lot of what I said, it was preventable. This was preventable stuff. This young man, from what I'm hearing, has some mental health problems. I heard his parents say it on the news when I looked the story up. Not blaming, so I say it again, but you can't tell me somewhere along the way more people don't notice things or can't do something. Like we have to do better. Right now you have people coming together, and it's unfortunate that it takes something like this, but sometimes it takes something like this. Sometimes tragedies bring people together. But I just want you to remember these things when this is over. We're going to still need each other. And it's healthcare workers, police officers, postal workers, store workers. Teachers are at home working. Laborers, cleaning crews, volunteers, gas station employees. And yes, probably rich people doing some things for people in some capacity. But what I'm seeing them do is spread joy, spread comfort, love. They're dancing, they're putting up messages, not money. Why? Yeah, we need money to do a lot of the things that we need to do. But we need a lot of other things, way more than we need money. We need people to take care of people. And that's what I'm hoping you get out of this. So starting today, if you would like to hear more and receive tips on the videos that I post every Tuesday, check the description box. If you're in YouTube, I don't know where you're going to see this, but there's going to be a link somewhere, only $10. I'm going to actually give you tips on how to get through a loss or whatever subject we're talking about that week. I'm going to give you tips. My degree is Human Services Counseling. I'm a restorative practices trainer. I've done a lot of behavioral work. In addition, I've gotten a lot of certificates and things. I keep up with what's going on so that I can help people. But I just want to say, in addition to all of that, I've actually, boots on the ground, helped people. It's not just those degrees and all the training, which of course I need it. It has helped. But doing the work is nothing like doing the work. Working with these kids, working with their parents, working with faculty, the teachers, the support staff members. And if you don't need the tape, maybe purchase it for someone else. Again, it's $10. It's not a hustle. I've been doing this for many years with no compensation. And I'm going to keep doing what I do, and I'm going to make money no matter what. But I do want to say, yes, we spend a lot of money on a lot of things. So $10 is what you'll be paying now. But in the future, when I'm doing more, yeah, it will probably cost more. So Take advantage of that. Lastly, if you're experiencing what's called complicated grief, you need more help than a video can offer. Complicated grief is when you don't feel like you're returning to normal, your new normal. Now, it's a new normal, because after tragedy and trauma, we have a new normal. However, when I know that people will tell you, you should be over it, and all, no, I'm not saying that. But if you realize yourself, I can't return to doing what I used to do, even taking care of my kids, taking care of myself. I've dealt with this. I'm telling you, people who couldn't even muster up the energy to take care of their kids. They couldn't get up and take a shower sometimes, things like that. And over extended periods of time, or they're angry at everybody. They find themselves thinking about the person or the loss like they're consumed by it. You could be experiencing complicated grief. So again, if you're at that point, please don't do it alone. You don't have to. Don't do it alone. You do not have to. Next week, I'm going to post my first contest. Tune in for that. But remember, don't go anywhere, because at the end of every video, we take a break. And I got something different for you this time. And I think we could use a break. Last but not least, remember, sharing is caring. I would love it if you would take a couple seconds to share my video. And always remember, if you can't find a solution, create one. Let's go take this break. I see you going through it and you're feeling so blue, but you can't let your situation take control of you. Tell all negative people to get out of your face, cause your plate already full, ain't got no time to waste. Time to focus on your goals, it's all part of the plan. Look those problems in the face, like I know that you can. I know when times get hard, you tuck your face in the sand. I need you to remember that together we stand.
I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. We can do it, let's get to it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. We can do it, let's get to it.
You can miss me with the fake, I know who's holding me down. When I was going through the pain, you was never around. This is not Monopoly and I ain't playing no game. See me hurting, bleeding, crying, hurt me calling your name. I know the time will come when the tables will turn, and you better have a boat for all the bridges you burn. If you think that you're gonna stop me, then come harder than that. Baby, shoot your best shot, I'll still be 10 toes flat.
I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. We can do it, let's get to it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. I can do it, you can do it. We can do it, let's get to it.
Even if you don't see it, someone's counting on you. And the one who brought the pain, excuse me, who? That's what you should remember next time you have doubt. I see you cheering up, that's what I'm talking about.
I can do it,
No one's there,
I can do it.
I was scared.
I can do it,
No one sees me,
I can do it.
gotta be me.
I can do it,
I can try,
I can do it.
ain't no lie.
I can do it,
Do or die,
we can do it.
time to fly. Next time no one's around, they'll remember your name. This time when they come running, things won't be the same. But you ain't gotta flex, put the salt on the shelf. Show them how it's really done, go on with your bad self. It's time to face your fears, you got work to do. Leave that petty stuff behind, time to focus on you. The last time that we spoke, you thought it was the end. Just enough to hold you over till I see you again.